Later that evening, Katie walked through the gardens of Haven with her closest friends and family. The former Vorthak capital had been transformed into something beautiful. Crystal spires grew alongside metal sculptures, aquatic parks hosted Keth communities, and the sky was filled with the gentle lights of feathered one aerial cities. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if the Zilani hadn't found you?" asked Tommy Chen, her childhood friend who now served as director of interspecies cultural exchange. Katie considered the question as she watched Zilani younglings teaching human children to grow crystal flowers. "I think someone else would have started this eventually," she said finally. The galaxy was ready for a different way of doing things. It just needed someone to take the first step. And that someone was a scared 8-year-old hiding in the ruins, Tommy observed with a smile. "No," Katie corrected gently. "That someone was every person who chose kindness over cruelty, protection over conquest, family over fear. I was just lucky enough to be in the right place when it all began." As the twin moons of Haven rose over the transformed world, Katie made her way to the new Protectorate Academy campus, where the next generation of galactic citizens were learning to live together in peace. The academy now hosted students from over 60 species, all of them learning that differences in appearance, culture, and biology were far less important than similarities in hope, curiosity, and compassion. In her private office, Katie made her final entry in the journal she had kept since childhood. "Today we welcomed the Silence Keepers into our family, bringing our total membership to 47 species. But numbers don't tell the real story. The real story is about second chances, about learning that everyone deserves to be safe, happy, and loved, about discovering that the scariest monsters often just need someone to show them a better way to live." The little girl who hid in the ruins of New Haven Colony couldn't have imagined any of this, but she would be proud to know that her rescue led to so many others being rescued too, not just from physical danger but from loneliness, despair. Jake Morrison stood in the command center of Kepler 442b, watching the morning sun rise over New Denver. The colony had been his home for 15 years. 2.5 million people lived here now. They had built farms, cities, and schools. Children played in parks that used to be empty fields. The warning came at 9:15 a.m. "Sir, we have contacts," said Lieutenant Amy Chen at the radar station. "Multiple ships coming out of hyperspace." Jake walked over to her station. The screen showed dozens of red dots appearing around the planet. Then hundreds, then thousands. "How many?" Jake asked. "Still counting, sir. Over 3,000 ships so far." Jake had never seen so many ships at once. His stomach felt cold. The colony had no military ships. They only had cargo vessels and mining equipment. "Send a message to Earth," Jake said. "Tell them we need help." More red dots appeared on the screen. The ships were getting closer. Jake could see them through the command center windows now. They looked like nothing he had ever seen before. The ships were smooth and curved, almost like living things. They moved through space like fish swimming through water. "Sir, they're not responding to our radio calls," Amy said. "We've tried all frequencies." Jake picked up the microphone for the colony-wide broadcast system. "This is Administrator Morrison. We have unknown ships approaching the planet. All citizens should go to their emergency shelters immediately. This is not a drill." The alien ships reached the outer atmosphere. They moved in perfect formation, like they were all controlled by one mind. Jake watched them descend toward the major cities. "Get me a channel to Earth," Jake said. "Emergency frequency." Amy worked at her controls. "Channel open." "Sir." Jake looked at the camera that would send his message across space to Earth. He knew this might be the last time anyone from Kepler 442b would speak to the home world. "Earth Command. This is Jake Morrison on Kepler 442b. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. Repeat, we are under attack. Over 3,000 ships have entered our system. They are not responding to communication attempts." The first explosions lit up the horizon. The city of New Angeles was 20 miles away. Jake could see bright flashes and smoke rising into the sky. "The ships appear to be attacking our cities," Jake continued into the camera. "We have no military defenses. We need immediate assistance," his personal communicator beeped. It was his wife Susan calling from their home in the residential district. "Jake, what's happening?" "The children are scared." "Get to the basement shelter," Jake told her. "Take the kids and stay there until I come get you." "Will you be coming home?" Jake looked out the window. 3 alien ships were flying toward the government complex. "I'll try," he said. He ended the call and turned back to the Earth transmission. The alien ships are approximately 200 meters long. They have no visible weapons ports, but they are definitely attacking. Energy beams are coming from the front of each ship. Another explosion rocked the building. This one was much closer. Jake could feel the floor shake under his feet. Amy was crying at her station. "Sir, I'm reading massive casualties in all the major cities. The aliens are targeting civilian areas." "Keep recording," Jake told her. "Earth needs to know what happened here." The power flickered. Emergency lighting came on, bathing the command center in red light. The aliens appear to be using some kind of energy weapons. Jake continued his transmission. "They're not trying to capture anything. They're destroying everything they see." Through the window, Jake could see people running in the streets below. Some were carrying children. Others were helping elderly citizens. Everyone was trying to reach the underground shelters. An alien ship appeared outside the command center window. It was only 50 feet away. Jake could see its smooth surface clearly now. It looked like metal, but it moved like skin. Parts of it were pulsing as if it had a heartbeat. "One of their ships is right outside our building," Jake said to the camera. "I can see." Wait. The ship's front section began to glow. A bright blue light was building up inside it. "They're charging some kind of weapon," Jake said. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "All personnel evacuate the command center immediately." Amy and the other staff members ran toward the emergency exits. Jake stayed at the transmission station. "Earth Command, if you receive this message, you need to know that these aliens are not here to communicate. They are here to kill every man, woman, and child on this planet. They're not taking prisoners. They're not demanding surrender. They're just killing everyone." The blue light outside the window was getting brighter. Jake thought about his wife and children in their basement shelter. He hoped the shelter would protect them, but he knew it probably would not. The aliens had better technology than humans. They had traveled between the stars to get here. A basement would not stop them. "The aliens' ships look biological," Jake continued, "like they grew them instead of building them. Their weapons are energy-based. They work together perfectly like a hive mind." The building shook again. This explosion was inside the building. The aliens were attacking the lower floors. "My name is Jake Morrison. I've been the administrator of this colony for 8 years. We came here to build a new life. We had farmers, teachers, doctors, engineers. We had children who were born here and had never seen Earth. This was their home." Smoke was coming under the door now. Jake could hear screaming from somewhere in the building. "Don't let our deaths be meaningless," Jake said to the camera. "These aliens will come for other human worlds. They'll come for Earth. You need to be ready. You need to fight them with everything you have." The blue light outside reached its peak. Jake could feel heat coming through the window. "Tell my family I love them," Jake said. "Tell everyone on Earth that we died as humans. We died free." The energy beam hit the command center. The last thing the camera recorded was a flash of blue light. Then the transmission ended. The message would take 6 months to reach Earth. When it arrived, everything would change. Admiral Lisa Hayes sat in the deepest bunker on Earth. The concrete walls were 10 feet thick. Above her head, 300 feet of rock and steel protected the emergency command center from any attack. The most powerful people in human space were gathered around the metal table. President William Carter looked older than his 60 years. The message from Kepler 442b had arrived 3 days ago. He had not slept since then. None of them had slept much. "Show them the transmission again," President Carter said. The wall screen lit up with Jake Morrison's final message. They had all seen it dozens of times, but they watched it again. They watched the blue light build up outside his window. They watched him stay at his post until the end. They watched him die. When the transmission ended, the room was quiet. General Frank Murphy was the first to speak. 2.5 million people, he said. Gone in 6 hours. Admiral Hayes had been in the military for 30 years. She had seen combat in the asteroid belt wars. She had commanded ships in dangerous missions, but she had never seen anything like this. "The aliens left one survivor," she said. "A mining engineer named Carl Webb. He was working in the deep mines when the attack happened. The aliens found him 3 days later." "What did they do to him?" asked Dr. Patricia Green, the president's science advisor. "They didn't kill him," Admiral Hayes said. "They gave him a message. Then they put him on a cargo ship and sent him toward Earth. President Carter leaned forward. What was the message? Admiral Hayes activated another recording. A man appeared on the screen. His face was thin and his eyes looked empty. He spoke in a flat, emotionless voice. I am Carl Webb. The masters have spared me to deliver their words. Humanity will surrender all colonies and return to your home system. You will disable all weapons and submit to harvesting. If you resist, you will share the fate of Kepler 442b. You have 1 year to comply. The recording ended. The room was silent again. Harvesting, said General Murphy. What does that mean? Dr. Green had been studying the alien ship fragments that Carl Webb brought with him. Based on the biological components we found, I believe they use other species for food and raw materials. The neural tissue patterns suggest they also harvest memories and knowledge. President Carter stood up and walked to the wall screen. Jake Morrison's face was still frozen on the display, caught in the moment before the energy beam hit. How many ships did they have at Kepler 442b? The president asked. Over 3,000, Admiral Hayes said. And that was just one battle group. Our long-range sensors have detected similar formations near other outer colonies. How many colonies have we lost contact with? General Murphy asked. 17 so far, Admiral Hayes replied. All of them went dark within the last month. We estimate 8 million people total. President Carter turned back to the table. His face was hard. What are our military options? General Murphy opened a folder full of reports. We have the home fleet with 200 ships, the Colonial. Defense Force has maybe 400 more spread across 30 systems. The Merchant Marine could be converted, giving us another 300 vessels. So we have 900 ships total, President Carter said. Against an enemy that sent 3,000 ships to destroy one colony, Admiral Hayes added. And they clearly have more where those came from. Dr. Green cleared her throat. There's something else you need to know. We've been studying their ships. The technology is at least 1,000 years ahead of ours. Their weapons, their armor, their propulsion systems. Everything is more advanced. President Carter sat back down. He looked at each person around the table. Options, he said. I want to hear all of them. General Murphy spoke first. We could surrender, give them what they want, and hope they keep their word. They killed 8 million people, Admiral Hayes said. I don't think they keep their word. We could negotiate, Dr. Green suggested. Maybe offer them something else instead of our colonies. What could we possibly give them that they can't just take? President Carter asked. Admiral Hayes had been thinking about this for 3 days. She had an idea, but it was crazy. Maybe crazy enough to work. We build a fleet, she said. The biggest fleet in human history. We take every shipyard, every factory, every resource we have. We build until we have enough ships to fight them. General Murphy shook his head. It would take years, maybe decades. They won't wait that long. We tell them we're considering surrender, Admiral Hayes said. We buy time while we build. We evacuate the outer colonies and concentrate everything in the core systems. President Carter was interested. How big a fleet are we talking about? Admiral Hayes had done the math. 500,000 ships. The room went quiet. It was an enormous number. Humanity had never built more than a few hundred warships at a time. Is that even possible? President Carter asked. Dr. Green was working on her tablet, running calculations. We'd need to convert every civilian shipyard. We'd need to strip mine half the asteroids in the solar system. Every human in space would have to work on the project. How long would it take? General Murphy asked. 18 months if we start immediately, Dr. Green said. But we'd have to shut down everything else. No civilian shipping, no non-essential manufacturing. Everything goes toward building warships. President Carter walked around the table thinking. Outside the bunker, Earth continued its normal routine. People went to work, children went to school, families had dinner together. They didn't know that their entire species was facing extinction. What about weapons? President Carter asked. You said their technology is more advanced? Dr. Green nodded. We'll need new weapons, new armor, new everything. but we have the ship fragments from Carl Webb. We can reverse engineer some of their technology. Admiral Hayes leaned forward. We also have something they don't expect. What's that? General Murphy asked. Humans, Admiral Hayes said. They're used to fighting species that give up when they're outgunned. They've never fought humans before. President Carter stopped walking and looked at Admiral Hayes. You really think we can win? I think we can make them pay a price they're not expecting, she said. Even if we lose, we can show them that humans don't surrender easily. President Carter looked around the table one more time. These people were asking him to make the biggest decision in human history. They were asking him to bet the survival of the entire species on an impossible plan. He thought about Jake Morrison, staying at his post until the end. He thought about 8 million people who had trusted humanity to protect them. He thought about his own children and grandchildren. We build the fleet, President Carter said. 500,000 ships, whatever it takes. Admiral Hayes nodded. I'll need complete authority over military production. You have it, President Carter said. General Murphy closed his folder. This is going to be the biggest military mobilization in human history. Good, President Carter said. Because we're fighting for the biggest prize in human history, our right to exist. Admiral Ryan Brooks floated in the observation deck of Lunar Shipyard 7, watching humanity transform itself into a war machine. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see 1,000 ships under construction. The shipyard ran 24 hours a day now. Bright welding sparks lit up the darkness of space like tiny stars. Production report, Brooks said into his communicator. 16 dreadnoughts completed this week, came the reply from Construction Chief Maria Santos. 42 destroyers, 98 frigates, and 200 corvettes. Brooks made notes on his tablet. The numbers were good, but they needed to be better. Earth had been building warships for 8 months now. They had completed 50,000 ships so far. They needed 10 times that many. Down in Construction Bay 12, Captain Tony Rodriguez supervised the installation of the new quantum torpedo launchers. The weapons were based on alien technology that Dr. Alex Turner's team had reverse-engineered from the ship fragments. Careful with that power coupling, Rodriguez told the work crew. One mistake and this whole section goes up. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's best hope of penetrating alien armor. Traditional weapons bounced off their bioships like raindrops. But the quantum torpedoes could disrupt matter at the atomic level. Rodriguez checked his watch. His shift had been 12 hours already, but there was too much work to stop now. Everyone was working longer hours. The fate of humanity depended on finishing the fleet. Across the solar system, the mobilization continued. Every asteroid mining station had been converted to military production. Every civilian factory was building weapons or ship components. The colony evacuation was nearly complete. Captain Maria Santos commanded one of the evacuation fleets. Her ship, the cargo vessel New Hope, was packed with 5,000 refugees from the rim worlds. They had lost their homes, but they were alive. That was more than the people of Kepler 442b could say. How are our passengers doing? Santos asked her first officer, scared but holding together. A lot of them want to join the military when we reach Earth. Santos nodded. The refugees had seen what the aliens could do. They knew this was a war for survival. In the research laboratories of Luna Base, Dr. Alex Turner worked on humanity's secret weapons. His team had been studying alien biotechnology for months. They were learning how to build ships that could adapt and repair themselves like living creatures. The neural interface is working, Turner told his assistant, Dr. Karen White. Our test ships can now coordinate their movements like the alien vessels do. Dr. White looked at the test results on her screen. The pilots will need special training. They'll be mentally linked to their ships. Better than being dead, Turner said. The new technology was dangerous. Test pilots sometimes lost their minds when they connected too deeply with their ships. But it was the only way to match alien coordination. On Mars, the weapons factories worked without stopping. General Frank Murphy walked through Production Facility Alpha, inspecting the latest batch of plasma cannons. The workers moved with desperate efficiency. Everyone knew the aliens were still out there destroying human colonies. How many more months? Murphy asked the facility manager. 10 months to complete all weapon systems for the fleet, she replied. But we're running out of raw materials. Murphy had heard this before. Earth was strip mining its own asteroid belt to feed the war machine. Soon they would have to start recycling space stations and old ships. In Earth orbit, Admiral Lisa Hayes watched the fleet grow from her flagship, the UHS Retribution. The massive ship was 5 kilometers long and carried 2,000 fighters. It was the largest warship humanity had ever built, and it was just one of 50 such vessels. Status report from all shipyards, Hayes requested. Her communications officer read from his screen. Lunar facilities, 90% capacity. Mars yards, 85% capacity. Europa Station, 70% capacity due to supply delays. Hayes made calculations in her head. They were behind schedule, but not by much. The fleet would be ready in 10 months. The question was whether the aliens would wait that long. Down on Earth, civilians were making sacrifices too. President William Carter had announced total rationing. No luxury goods, no recreational travel. Every resource went to the war effort. In the suburbs of New York, families gathered around their television screens to watch the daily fleet reports. Children played with toy spaceships pretending to fight aliens. Adults worked extra shifts in factories that had been converted to military production. "Mommy, when will the war be over?" asked 6-year-old Jenny Walsh. Her mother, Linda, didn't know what to say. The government said they were winning, but everyone knew the real fighting hadn't started yet. "Soon, honey," Linda said. "Our brave soldiers are building a big fleet to protect us." At the military academies, training had been accelerated. Young men and women who should have been in college were learning to pilot warships instead. The war needed crews for 500,000 vessels. Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was 23 years old. He had been in the academy for 2 years when the mobilization began. Now he was training to command a destroyer squadron. "The alien ships move in perfect coordination," his instructor explained. "They think as one mind. Our advantage is that human crews can adapt and improvise." Parker raised his hand. "What if their coordination is better than our improvisation?" The instructor paused. It was the question everyone was thinking about. "Then we bring more ships," he said finally. "A lot more ships." In the medical facilities, doctors were preparing for casualties. Dr. Beth Collins had seen the reports from Kepler 442b. Alien energy weapons left very distinctive wounds. She was training medical teams to treat survivors of alien attacks. "The energy disrupts cellular structure," she explained to a group of military medics. "Traditional treatments won't work. We'll need to use the new bioregeneration techniques." Most of the medics were young volunteers. They had joined the medical corps after their home colonies were evacuated. They wanted to help in any way they could. The fleet was taking shape, but it was changing humanity too. People who had been farmers and teachers were now building weapons. Children were learning about space battles instead of playing normal games. Everyone was focused on one goal: survival. Captain Dan Foster commanded a training squadron of the new bioships. His vessel could repair itself and coordinate with other ships through neural links, but the technology came with a cost. "I can feel the ship thinking," he told Dr. Turner during a medical check. "Sometimes I'm not sure where I end and it begins." "That's normal," Turner said. "The interface is working correctly." Foster wasn't sure if that was good news or bad news. The ship made him a better pilot, but it was changing his mind too. As the months passed, the fleet continued to grow. By the 15th month of mobilization, humanity had 400,000 warships. The largest fleet in galactic history was almost ready. Admiral Hayes stood in the observation deck of the Retribution, watching the final ships roll out of the production lines. Soon they would leave the safety of Earth's solar system. Soon they would find out if their impossible plan could work. "Signal from Earth Command," her communications officer reported. "The President wants to speak with you." Hayes took the call in her private office. President Carter's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired but determined. "How much longer?" he asked. 3 months for the last ships," Hayes said. "But we can start deploying the advance forces now." "Do it," Carter said. "It's time to take the war to them." The human fleet stretched across 1,000 cubic kilometers of space. 500,000 warships moved through hyperspace in perfect formation. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, watching the tactical display show their progress toward alien territory. 8 months to target, reported Navigation Officer Commander Nick Thompson. "All ships maintaining formation," Hayes nodded. The fleet was the largest moving object in human history. Keeping 500,000 ships coordinated was like conducting an orchestra with more musicians than most planets had people. Captain Tony Rodriguez commanded the advanced scout wing from his flagship UHS Pioneer. His job was to stay ahead of the main fleet, mapping alien space and identifying targets. So far, they had found the remains of 12 different civilizations. Another dead system. Rodriguez reported to Admiral Hayes over the long-range communicator. 3 planets, all stripped bare. No life signs anywhere. Hayes looked at the reports from Rodriguez's scouts. The aliens had been busy. Every system they entered showed signs of systematic destruction. Entire worlds had been harvested down to the bedrock. Any pattern to the destruction? Hayes asked. They take everything organic first, Rodriguez said. Plants, animals, people. Then they strip mine the planets for metals and minerals. What's left isn't worth calling a world. Dr. Karen White worked in the intelligence section of the Retribution. She had been studying captured alien technology for over a year now. The bioships were more complex than anyone had imagined. Their ships are grown, not built, she explained to Admiral Hayes during their daily briefing. Each one is essentially a living creature. They can repair damage, adapt to new weapons, and share information instantly with other ships. What about weaknesses? Hayes asked. Dr. White brought up a holographic display of an alien ship's internal structure. They need a constant supply of organic material to maintain themselves. Cut off their food supply and they start to break down. Hayes studied the display. How long can they survive without feeding? Maybe 6 months, White said. But they can enter a hibernation state that extends that to several years. The fleet continued its journey through hyperspace. Inside the ships, human crews trained constantly. The voyage would take 8 months and every day was used for preparation. Commander Steve Parker ran combat simulations on his destroyer UHS Defender. His crew practiced fighting alien bioships using every scenario the computers could imagine. Remember, they adapt to our weapons, Parker told his gunnery officer. Keep changing frequencies on the plasma cannons. Don't give them time to adjust. What if they adapt faster than we can change? The young officer asked. Parker had wondered about that too. Then we hope the quantum torpedoes work better than our regular weapons. Throughout the fleet, similar training sessions continued around the clock. Pilots practiced formation flying in ships that could think for themselves. Marines learned how to fight inside alien vessels where the walls might try to heal around them. Captain Dan Foster commanded one of the new bioships, the UHS Phoenix. The ship's neural interface allowed him to control it with his thoughts, but the connection went both ways. Sometimes he could feel what the ship was feeling. Status report, Foster said, though he could sense the ship's condition through the neural link. All systems optimal, his first officer replied, though you might want to check the interface readings. Foster looked at his mental connection statistics. The numbers were higher than recommended. He was bonding too closely with the ship's artificial mind. Schedule me for a psychological evaluation, Foster said. Standard procedure for bioship pilots. Dr. Alex Turner's medical team had been studying the effects of neural interfaces on human crews. The technology allowed perfect coordination with their ships, but it came with risks. Some pilots are reporting dreams about flying, Turner told Admiral Hayes. Others say they can sense nearby ships even when they're off duty. Are they still functional as officers? Hayes asked. So far, yes, but we're in uncharted territory. We don't know what long-term exposure to the interface will do to human minds. Hayes made a note in her log. The bioships gave them an edge against the aliens, but every advantage came with a price. Captain Maria Santos commanded a supply vessel, the UHS Provider. Her ship carried food, ammunition, and spare parts for the combat vessels. Keeping 500,000 ships supplied was a logistical nightmare. We're running low on quantum torpedo components, Santos reported to Fleet Command. At current consumption rates, we'll run out of advanced weapons in 4 months. Hayes read the supply reports with growing concern. The fleet was so large that it was consuming resources faster than Earth could produce them. They would have to win quickly or risk running out of ammunition. As they traveled deeper into alien space, the scout ships brought back more disturbing reports. Captain Rodriguez had found evidence of civilizations that had tried to fight the aliens. This system had a defensive fleet, Rodriguez reported, maybe 2,000 ships. We found the wreckage scattered across 3 planets. The aliens didn't just defeat them, they completely destroyed every ship. Hayes studied the tactical analysis of the battle site. The defending ships had been advanced. possibly more advanced than current human technology. But they had still lost. Any indication of how the battle went? Hayes asked. The defensive positions suggest they tried to make a stand around their homeworld, Rodriguez said. The aliens simply overwhelmed them with superior numbers and coordination. Dr. White analyzed the wreckage samples that Rodriguez's team had recovered. These ships used energy shields similar to what we're developing. The aliens found a way to bypass them. Hayes called a meeting with her senior commanders. The officers gathered in the Retribution's main briefing room, their faces grim as they reviewed the intelligence reports. The aliens have fought advanced civilizations before, Hayes told them. They know how to counter sophisticated defenses. We can't assume our new weapons will surprise them. Commander Thompson raised his hand. What's our advantage then? Hayes looked around the room at her officers. They were young, most of them. The war had promoted people quickly to fill the massive fleet's command structure. Numbers, she said. Sheer overwhelming numbers. They've never faced a fleet this large. Captain Foster spoke up from the back of the room. The bioships are reporting something strange. They're sensing other artificial minds at the edge of their range. Other bioships? Dr. White asked. No, Foster said. Something else. Something bigger. Hayes felt a chill. The alien hive mind was larger than they had thought. Their enemies weren't just individual ships working together. They were parts of a single massive intelligence. How big? Hayes asked. Foster closed his eyes, accessing his ship's neural interface. The Phoenix estimates at least 1 million individual minds connected to the network. Maybe more. The briefing room went quiet. 1 million alien ships would outnumber the human fleet 2 to 1. Are you certain? Hayes asked. The bioship technologies don't lie, Dr. Turner said. If they're detecting that many connected minds, that's what's out there. Hayes looked at the star charts on the briefing room wall. They were still 3 months away from the alien homeworld. 3 months to figure out how to fight an enemy that outnumbered them and had better technology. We continue the mission, Hayes said, but we accelerate our training schedule. Everyone needs to be ready for the largest space battle in galactic history. After the briefing, Hayes stood alone in her ready room, looking out at the human fleet, 500,000 ships carrying the hopes of humanity. It seemed like a lot until she thought about 1 million alien bioships waiting for them. She activated her personal communicator and sent a message back to Earth. President Carter, this is Admiral Hayes. We're proceeding according to plan, but intelligence indicates the enemy has larger forces than anticipated. Recommend accelerating production of the quantum cascade weapons. We may need them sooner than expected. The message would take weeks to reach Earth. By the time President Carter received it, the human fleet would be deep in alien territory, committed to their course of action. Hayes looked out at the stars rushing past the viewport. Somewhere ahead, the aliens were waiting. Soon, humanity would find out if courage and determination could overcome superior technology and numbers. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Xerion system. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, watching the tactical display light up with enemy contacts. Count? She asked her sensor officer. 40,000 alien ships in defensive positions around Xerion Prime, came the reply. They're arranged in perfect spherical formation around the planet. Hayes studied the alien formation. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The bioships moved like a school of fish, constantly shifting position but maintaining perfect coordination. Commander Steve Parker commanded Strike Force Alpha, 50,000 human warships positioned at the front of the fleet. His destroyer UHS Defender led a wing of fast attack vessels toward the alien outer perimeter. All ships, this is Parker, target the outer ring of enemy vessels. Fire quantum torpedoes on my mark. Parker's neural interface with his ship's weapon system allowed him to coordinate the attack with perfect timing. 50,000 human ships fired simultaneously. The quantum torpedoes streaked through space like blue lightning. They hit the alien bioships and began disrupting their molecular structure. Several enemy vessels simply dissolved into clouds of organic matter. But the aliens adapted quickly. The bioships began changing their hull composition, developing resistance to the quantum weapons. Within minutes, the torpedoes were only half as effective. They're learning, Parker reported to Admiral Hayes. Switching to plasma cannons, the battle spread across the entire star system. Captain Beth Collins led her fighter squadron through the alien formation, weaving between bioships that tried to grab her fighters with extending tentacles. These things are definitely alive, Collins reported over the combat channel. "They're trying to eat my fighter." Collins fired her plasma cannons at point-blank range into the side of a bioship. The alien vessel shuddered and began bleeding some kind of green fluid into space. On the UHS Phoenix, Captain Dan Foster felt his bioship responding to the presence of alien vessels. The ship's neural interface was picking up fragments of the alien hive mind communications. "They're confused," Foster reported to Admiral Hayes. "They've never seen technology like our bioships before." "Can you understand what they're saying?" Hayes asked. Foster closed his eyes and opened his mind to the ship's neural network. Alien thoughts flowed through his consciousness, like a river of ice water. "They're calling us abominations. They think our bioships are some kind of disease." The aliens began concentrating their fire on the human bioships, recognizing them as a unique threat. Foster's Phoenix took multiple hits from alien energy weapons, but its organic hull began healing the damage immediately. "Bioship effectiveness confirmed," Foster reported. "We can take a lot more punishment than the regular vessels." Admiral Hayes made a tactical decision. "All bioships advance to close range. Regular fleet, provide covering fire." The battle intensified as human and alien fleets closed with each other. The space around Zirion Prime lit up with weapons fire and explosions. Ships on both sides were being destroyed, but the aliens were losing more vessels. Captain Tony Rodriguez led a flanking attack with his scout ships, trying to break through the alien defensive perimeter. His UHS Pioneer was fast and well-armed, but the alien bioships were incredibly resilient. "Target their engines," Rodriguez ordered his weapons officer. "If we can slow them down, the main fleet can finish them off." Rodriguez's plasma cannons focused on the rear section of an alien bioship. The vessel began losing speed and falling out of formation. Other human ships concentrated fire on it until it finally exploded in a burst of green flame. But for every alien ship they destroyed, the humans lost 2 of their own. The alien weapons were more powerful, and their ships could repair damage that would cripple human vessels. Dr. Karen White monitored the battle from the Retribution's Intelligence Center. She was analyzing the alien communication patterns, trying to understand their tactical coordination. "They're not just sharing information," she told Admiral Hayes. "They're sharing consciousness. Each ship knows what every other ship is thinking." "Is there a way to disrupt their communication?" Hayes asked. "Maybe. If we could overload their neural network with too much information, it might cause them to lose coordination." Hayes considered this. "How would we do that?" "The bioships," White said. "Captain Foster's ship is already interfacing with their network. If we could boost the signal and send contradictory commands." Hayes opened a channel to the Phoenix. "Foster, we need you to attempt a neural attack on the alien network. Dr. White will explain." Foster listened to White's instructions while his ship continued fighting 2 alien bioships at once. The plan was dangerous. Opening his neural interface to the alien network might damage his mind permanently. "Understood," Foster said. "Beginning neural attack now." Foster opened his mind completely to the alien hive network. Alien thoughts flooded his consciousness. He could feel the cold intelligence that controlled all the bioships. It was ancient and vast, spanning thousands of years and countless star systems, but Foster was human. His thoughts were chaotic and unpredictable compared to the ordered alien mind. He began broadcasting human memories and emotions into the alien network. Images of Earth, memories of childhood, feelings of love and anger and hope. The alien formation began to waver. Some bioships stopped moving altogether. Others began firing randomly in all directions. The perfect coordination of the alien fleet was breaking down. "It's working," Admiral Hayes announced to the entire fleet. "All ships press the attack while they're disorganized." The human fleet surged forward. Captain Parker's strike force broke through the alien perimeter and began attacking the ships defending Zirion Prime directly. The aliens tried to reorganize, but Foster's neural attack was still disrupting their communications. Captain Collins led her fighters in a bombing run against the largest alien vessel, a massive bioship that seemed to be coordinating the defense. Her squadron dropped their entire payload of quantum torpedoes into the ship's central section. The alien command ship began coming apart. As it died, its death screams echoed through the alien neural network, further disrupting their coordination. "Enemy fleet is breaking up," reported the Retribution's sensor officer. "They're retreating from Zirion Prime." But the victory came at a terrible cost. 15,000 human ships had been destroyed in the battle. The wreckage of both fleets drifted through the Xerian system like a metal graveyard. Admiral Hayes looked at the casualty reports on her screen. 15,000 ships meant nearly 200,000 human crew members. The alien fleet had lost more ships, but humans couldn't afford to trade casualties at this rate. Captain Foster's voice came over the communicator, but it sounded different. Distant and strange. "Neural attack complete," he said. "But Admiral, I think we need to talk." Hayes had Foster transferred to the medical bay of the Retribution. When she arrived, she found him sitting on the examination table, staring at nothing. "How do you feel?" Dr. Alex Turner asked him. "Different," Foster said. "I can still sense the alien network. Even with the interface turned off, I can feel them out there." "Is that a problem?" Hayes asked. Foster looked at her with eyes that seemed older than they had been before the battle. "I know where they come from now. I've seen their memories. Admiral, there are a lot more of them than we thought." "How many more?" "Millions of ships. Billions of individual aliens. They've been harvesting species for 10,000 years. We're just the latest in a very long list." Hayes felt her stomach drop. "Are you certain?" "I've been inside their minds," Foster said. "They have fleets scattered across the galaxy. What we fought here was just a local defense force." Dr. White had been monitoring the conversation. "If that's true, then even our fleet isn't large enough to fight them." Hayes walked to the medical bay window and looked out at the human fleet. 500,000 ships had seemed like an overwhelming force when they left Earth. Now it seemed small and fragile. "What else did you learn about them?" Hayes asked Foster. "They don't understand us," Foster said. "They've fought thousands of species, but never anything like humans. Most civilizations surrender when they realize they're outmatched. Others fight to the last ship and then give up. What makes us different?" Foster smiled, but it was a cold expression. "We're crazy enough to build 500,000 warships to avenge one colony. They don't know what to do with that level of determination." Hayes made her decision. "We continue to their homeworld. If they have millions of ships, we need to strike at their center of command." "That's suicide," Dr. Turner said. "Maybe," Hayes said. "But Foster's right. They don't understand humans. That might be the only advantage we have." The human fleet moved deeper into alien territory, leaving behind the wreckage of the Xerian battle. Admiral Lisa Hayes studied the intelligence reports from captured alien bioships. Each piece of information made their situation look worse. 17 more star systems ahead, reported Captain Tony Rodriguez from his scout ship, all of them heavily defended. The aliens are concentrating their forces between us and their homeworld. Hayes looked at the tactical display in the Retribution's command center. Red dots marked alien fleet positions across dozens of star systems. Each dot represented thousands of enemy ships. "Total enemy count?" she asked Dr. Karen White. "Conservative estimate 800,000 bioships," White said. "They're calling in reinforcements from across their empire." The numbers were overwhelming, but Hayes had expected this. The aliens knew humanity was coming for their homeworld. They would throw everything they had at the human fleet to stop them. Commander Dan Foster entered the briefing room, moving carefully. His neural connection with the alien hive mind at Xerion had changed him. He walked like someone carrying a heavy weight. "How are you feeling?" Hayes asked him. "Like I have 1,000 voices whispering in my head," Foster said. "But I can still function. And I'm learning more about our enemy every day." Foster activated a holographic display showing the structure of alien society. They call themselves the Devourers. They've been expanding across the galaxy for 12,000 years. Every few centuries, they find a new region of space and harvest everything in it. "What happened to the civilizations they destroyed?" Hayes asked. "Absorbed," Foster said. "The Devourers take the knowledge and memories of every species they consume. In a way, all those dead civilizations are still alive inside the alien collective." Dr. White studied Foster's brain scans on her tablet. The neural interface with their network is permanent now. Foster is partially connected to the alien hive mind. "Is that dangerous?" Hayes asked. "For Foster, probably," White said. "For us, it might be an advantage. He can predict their movements and understand their tactics." Hayes made a command decision. "Foster, you'll be our tactical advisor for the rest of the campaign. But if the connection becomes too dangerous, we're pulling you off duty." "Understood," Foster said. "But Admiral, there's something else you need to know. The Devourers aren't just going to defend their homeworld. They're planning a counterattack against Earth." Hayes felt cold. "When?" "Soon. They're building a massive fleet to follow our hyperspace trail back to human space. If we don't finish this quickly, Earth will be under attack within 6 months. The briefing room went quiet. Everyone understood what this meant. They weren't just fighting for revenge anymore. They were fighting to save humanity's homeworld. Captain Steve Parker's strike force encountered the next alien defensive line 3 days later. The enemy had positioned 200,000 bioships in a dense formation around a critical hyperspace junction. "We can't go around them," Parker reported. "This is the only route to the inner systems that won't add months to our journey." Hayes studied the tactical situation. The aliens had chosen their position well. The human fleet would have to fight through them, or take a massive detour that would give Earth's enemies time to attack the home system. "All ships, prepare for battle," Hayes announced to the fleet. "We're going through them." The second battle was larger than Xerion. 400,000 human ships engaged 200,000 alien bioships in the narrow space around the hyperspace junction. The fighting was brutal and close range. Captain Beth Collins led her expanded fighter wing through the alien formation, targeting their command vessels. The bioships tried to trap her fighters with extending tentacles and organic nets, but Collins had learned to anticipate their tactics. "Stay mobile," she ordered her pilots. "Don't let them grab you." Collins fired her quantum torpedoes at a massive alien bioship that was coordinating a section of their defensive line. The weapon hit, but the ship began adapting to the quantum disruption almost immediately. "They're getting better at resisting our weapons," Collins reported. "Quantum torpedo effectiveness down to 30%. Admiral Hayes watched the battle from the Retribution's bridge. The human fleet was winning, but they were losing ships at an unsustainable rate. At this pace, they would run out of vessels long before reaching the alien homeworld. "Foster, can you disrupt their network again?" Hayes asked. Foster was connected to his bioship's neural interface, his eyes closed as he monitored alien communications. "They've adapted to neural attacks. They're compartmentalizing their network to prevent system-wide disruption." "Then we do this the hard way," Hayes said. "All ships concentrate fire on their largest vessels. If we can break their formation, we can push through." The battle raged for 18 hours. Human and alien ships danced through space, trading devastating volleys of energy weapons and torpedoes. The wreckage of destroyed vessels formed a growing debris field that made maneuvering increasingly difficult. Captain Maria Santos commanded a logistics vessel, the UHS Provider, that had been converted with emergency weapons. Her ship wasn't built for combat, but everyone was fighting now. "Medical teams to battle stations," Santos announced over her ship's intercom. "We're taking aboard survivors from the UHS Challenger." Santos watched through her viewports as the human destroyer UHS Challenger broke apart under alien weapons fire. Escape pods scattered from the dying ship like seeds from a broken flower. The Provider moved through the battle zone, rescuing survivors while dodging alien energy beams. Santos's crew worked frantically to save as many people as possible before the aliens could target the rescue operation. 47 survivors aboard, reported her first officer. The Challenger's captain didn't make it out. Santos felt the weight of command. Every ship they lost meant hundreds or thousands of dead crew members. The human fleet was bleeding people as well as vessels. On the bioship UHS Phoenix, Captain Foster felt the alien network responding to the battle. The Devourers were becoming more desperate as the human fleet pushed through their defenses. "They're scared," Foster told Admiral Hayes over the communications link. "They've never faced an enemy that kept fighting after taking such heavy casualties." "How many ships have we lost?" Hayes asked her tactical officer. 28,000 destroyed, another 15,000 too damaged to continue fighting," came the reply. Hayes looked at the numbers. Nearly 50,000 ships lost in one battle. The human fleet was down to 400,000 vessels, and they hadn't even reached the alien core systems yet. But they were winning. The alien defensive line was breaking apart. Human ships poured through the gaps, heading deeper into enemy territory. "All damaged vessels return to the rally point," Hayes ordered. "The rest of the fleet continues the advance." As the human fleet moved past the battlefield, they began encountering something new. Alien refugee ships fleeing from the combat zone. The bioships were filled with non-combatant Devourers who were trying to escape the advancing human forces. Captain Rodriguez intercepted several of the refugee vessels with his scout ships. "Admiral, We're finding civilian populations aboard these ships, devourer children and non-military adults. Hayes faced a decision that would define the rest of the campaign. The aliens had shown no mercy to human civilians. Every colony they attacked had been completely exterminated. But Hayes was still human, and humans had rules about targeting non-combatants. Scan them for weapons, Hayes ordered. If they're truly civilian vessels, let them go. Admiral, Foster said over the intercom, his voice strained from the neural connection. The alien network is broadcasting something. It's a surrender offer. Hayes felt her pulse quicken. What are they offering? Complete withdrawal from human space. Reparations for the destroyed colonies. A permanent peace treaty. The offer was everything humanity had demanded. It was more than Hayes had expected to achieve. But the faces of Jake Morrison and the 8 million other dead colonists floated in her mind. What's the catch? Hayes asked. Foster was quiet for a long moment, listening to the alien network. They want to keep their homeworld and their core territories. They're offering to give up their outer empire in exchange for their survival. Hayes thought about President Carter and the orders she had been given. The mission was to eliminate the alien threat permanently. A negotiated peace would leave the devourers alive to threaten humanity again in the future. Send them our response, Hayes said. Unconditional surrender. Complete disarmament. Trial of their leadership for war crimes. Nothing less. Foster transmitted the human demands into the alien network. The response came back immediately. They reject our terms, Foster said. They're preparing for a final battle at their homeworld. Hayes looked out at the human fleet. 400,000 ships remained, carrying the hopes and anger of humanity. The aliens would make their last stand with everything they had left. Then we finish this, Hayes said. Set course for the Devourer homeworld. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian home system. Admiral Lisa Hayes stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, staring at a sight that defied imagination. The alien homeworld was surrounded by the largest concentration of warships in galactic history. Count, Hayes ordered her sensor officer. 1.2 million alien bioships, came the stunned reply. They're arranged in concentric defensive spheres around their homeworld. Hayes felt her breath catch. The aliens had gathered every ship they could find. This was their entire remaining fleet. Everything they had built over 12,000 years of conquest. Our fleet strength? Hayes asked. 400,000 ships operational and ready for combat, reported her tactical officer. The odds were 3-1 against humanity, but Hayes had known this moment would come. Every human in the fleet had volunteered to face these odds. They were fighting for the future of their species. Captain Nick Thompson commanded the human fleet's port wing from his flagship UHS Vengeance. His 20,000 ships would attempt to break through the alien outer defensive sphere, while the main fleet pressed the center. All ships in port wing. This is Thompson. Remember, we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're here to cause as much damage as possible before we die. Thompson's words were broadcast to every ship in his command. The crews knew the odds. They knew most of them wouldn't survive the next few hours, but they also knew that humanity would remember what they did here. Commander Dan Foster's bioship UHS Phoenix was positioned at the front of the fleet. His neural connection to the alien hive mind was stronger than ever now. He could feel the fear and desperation of millions of alien minds. They're terrified, Foster reported to Admiral Hayes. They've never seen anything like our fleet. Most species surrender when faced with impossible odds. But not humans, Hayes said. No, Foster agreed. Not humans. The battle began with the largest coordinated weapons discharge in history. 400,000 human ships fired simultaneously at the alien outer defense sphere. The space between the fleets lit up like a newborn star as millions of energy beams and torpedoes crossed the void. The aliens responded with their own massive volley. Bioships that had been dormant suddenly came alive, their organic weapon systems charging with deadly energy. The return fire from the alien fleet was like watching a meteor storm in reverse. Captain Beth Collins led her fighter wings through the opening salvos, weaving between energy beams that could vaporize her small craft instantly. Her mission was to identify and target the alien command vessels that were coordinating their defense. I count 50 command bioships in the outer sphere, Collins reported over the combat channel. They're the big ones with the neural relay structures. Collins dove her fighter squadron toward the nearest command ship. The massive alien vessel was over 1 kilometer long, its surface covered with organic sensor arrays and communication nodes. As her fighters approached, the bioship began growing defensive turrets from its hull. "They're adapting their defenses in real time," Collins warned her pilots. "Stay mobile and keep changing your attack patterns." The fighter attack succeeded in damaging several command ships, but the cost was enormous. Collins watched 2/3 of her squadrons disappear in the alien defensive fire. On the starboard wing of the fleet, Colonel Amy Johnson led the Marine boarding actions against captured alien vessels. Her job was to plant nuclear charges inside bioships that were too damaged to fight but still dangerous. "These ships don't die easy," Johnson reported as her Marines fought through the organic corridors of a wounded bioship. "The walls are trying to heal around us." Johnson's Marines moved through the alien vessel like antibodies fighting an infection. The bioship's immune system sent waves of defensive organisms against them, but human determination and superior weapons pushed them deeper into the ship's core. "Charges planted," Johnson announced. "All Marines evacuate now." Her team barely made it back to their assault shuttle before the nuclear charges detonated. The alien bioship came apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up half the battlefield. Admiral Hayes coordinated the massive battle from the Retribution's command center. Thousands of individual ship actions had to be woven together into a coherent strategy. The tactical display showed the human fleet slowly pushing through the alien defenses, but at a terrible cost. "Casualty report," Hayes ordered. 60,000 ships lost in the first wave, came the grim response. Alien losses estimated at 80,000. The numbers meant that nearly 1 million human crew members had died in the opening minutes of the battle. But they were trading casualties at a favorable rate. If the pattern continued, the human fleet might break through to the alien homeworld, but the aliens had more tricks to deploy. The second defensive sphere suddenly reconfigured itself, with bioships linking together to form massive superorganisms. Individual vessels merged their hulls and combined their weapons into concentrated firing platforms. "They're forming battle clusters," Foster warned. "Each cluster has the firepower of 50 individual ships." The alien superorganisms began systematically destroying human vessels with concentrated energy beams. Captain Thompson's port wing came under attack from 3 of the massive formations simultaneously. "Port wing taking heavy casualties," Thompson reported. "We need support immediately." Hayes made a tactical decision that would determine the course of the battle. All bioships advanced to close range. Engage the alien clusters with neural attacks. Foster and the other bioship commanders pushed their vessels into the heart of the alien formation. The neural interfaces that connected them to their ships allowed them to coordinate perfectly with each other while simultaneously attacking the alien hive mind. The psychic battle was invisible to most of the human fleet, but Foster could feel it raging across multiple dimensions. Human consciousness, chaotic and unpredictable, clashed with the ordered alien collective mind. The strain was enormous, and Foster could feel bioship pilots throughout the fleet beginning to break down under the neural stress. "Bioship Phoenix to all neural pilots," Foster broadcast. "Open your minds completely. Don't hold anything back." Foster threw his entire consciousness into the neural attack. Every human memory, every emotion, every chaotic thought was broadcast into the alien network. The other bioship pilots followed his lead, creating a storm of human consciousness that tore through the alien collective like a hurricane. The alien battle clusters began to break apart as their coordination failed. Bioships that had been linked together suddenly found themselves acting independently, their shared consciousness disrupted by the human neural assault. "It's working," Hayes announced to the fleet. "All ships, press the attack while they're disorganized." The human fleet surged forward through the gaps in the alien defenses. But the neural attack came with a price. Foster could feel bioship pilots throughout the fleet losing their minds as their consciousness merged too deeply with their vessels. Captain Greg Adams commanded a heavy cruiser in the center of the human formation. His ship UHS destroyer had been fighting for 6 hours straight, and his weapons were beginning to overheat from continuous firing. "Engineering, how long until the main guns are back online?" Adams asked. 2 minutes, sir. But we're running low on coolant." Adams looked at the tactical display. 2 massive alien bioships were approaching his position, their weapons charging for what would probably be a killing blow. "All hands, this is the captain. We're going to ram the nearest alien ship. Brace for impact." Adams aimed his cruiser directly at the larger bioship and pushed his engines to maximum power. The alien vessel tried to evade, but it was too large and slow to avoid the collision. The UHS destroyer struck the bioship amidships, penetrating deep into its organic hull. Adams triggered his ship's self-destruct charges just before impact, ensuring that both vessels would be destroyed in the explosion. Similar sacrifices were happening throughout the battle. Human crews rammed their ships into alien vessels when their weapons failed. Others continued fighting even after their ships were crippled beyond repair. The third and final alien defensive sphere was the strongest. The bioships were larger and more heavily armed than anything humanity had encountered before. Some of them were the size of small moons, their surfaces covered with thousands of weapon emplacements. "Those are their fortress ships," Foster explained to Admiral Hayes. "They're mobile battle stations that took centuries to grow." Hayes looked at what remained of her fleet. 200,000 human ships were still operational, but most of them were damaged. The aliens still had 400,000 bioships protecting their homeworld. "Signal to all ships," Hayes announced. "This is our last push. Everything we have, everything we are, goes into breaking through to the alien homeworld." The final assault began with the human fleet concentrating all of its firepower on a single section of the alien defense sphere. Quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, and nuclear missiles focused on one area until the alien formation began to crack. "Gap opening in the alien line," reported the tactical officer. "It's narrow, but we can get through." Hayes made her final command decision. "All remaining ships advance through the gap. Our target is the alien homeworld. We finish this today." The surviving human fleet pushed through the opening in the alien defenses like water through